Right, everybody. I believe we are live. Hopefully, if I didn't screw something up. Welcome, everybody, back to the shit show. I'm your host, Stax, X, YouTube, and Rumble. That's Drew down there.
Shit Show co-host on X, Luminary Mixdown on IG.
We have some guests today, but I wanted to go over some stuff first. Let's get the prayer out of the way. Lord, guide my words tonight. Help us do your will now and forever. Amen.
Amen.
All right. Also, real quick, I'm gonna pull up a screen, which I'm terrible at doing. Uh, we have a merch store that hang on a minute, that Subliminal Messenger has given to us to use. Let's see if I can ever figure any of this shit out. Okay, there's these are magnets, and there's also hats and things around that kind of stuff. So go to Building 7. I'll add some links in the description when the show is over. Help support the show. Show Subliminal some love. And I think there's a comment section, so you can tell them that we sent you also.
Nice.
All right. Uh, okay. I think this is going to be a fun one, guys. I've watched a few of these guys' shows, and they are a blast. um, this is Veritas Road. I'm not going to do you any justice by trying to introduce you, so go ahead and introduce yourself. Tell them where they can find you.
Yeah, we are, like you said, the Veritas Road. I'm Carson. This is John. We're just two random pseudo faggots from Middle Tennessee. We do a show every Tuesday called Touch Me Tuesdays. We go live around 7 p.m. You can find us on all the spaces at the Veritas Road or on Twitter. We're the Veritas Road Pod because our old Twitter account got wrecked. And I guess that's about it. Those are all the places to find us. That's all our stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. Usually do shows, every Saturday as well. So
Saturday, Friday, Sunday,
Yeah.
somewhere on the week, sometime on the weekend.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Carson and I'm sorry, forgive me. I am absolutely terrible with
Oh
names.
no,
Carson,
hang here, John.
Carson and John. Do not take that personally. I do this with people I work with all the time. I'll be working with a guy for a week and just blank on a name. I swear that it's bandwidth. I got so much. Everything is just there's not enough bandwidth.
Yeah.
But apparently you have a reputation.
A
You
reputation.
got there's a comment here. Stacks, what's up, homie? I don't know about them Veritas boys though. You got to watch out for Carson. That guy is trouble.
There it is.
Yeah, no,
I
that's
can get
fair.
a little excited
That's fair.
sometimes. Sometimes I get a little excited. It doesn't always happen. Yeah, sometimes it happens though.
No, you don't have much of a filter, so you don't know what's going to come out.
That's the problem.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
So-
that's the
It's
issue.
the best.
Yeah.
No. That's the best. I love people that are like that. Say what you mean and mean what you say.
Yeah.
I respect that. I get about myself, I guess. Fuck yeah.
Did you say your was it your Twitter got nuked? Is that what you said?
Yeah,
Yeah.
our original Twitter got banned like back in September. So
Oh, really? What's
For-
that for?
We were spam. I think it said we were spamming, which I think was my fault. John was posting all of our shit in like other people's groups and stuff. And I tried to do the same thing, but I guess I did it too quickly. I had like my phone out. I was doing it in like 3 windows on my computer, just trying to get it all out of the way. And I guess Twitter thought I was a bot.
is that what happened?
I think so. That's
Oh,
my
I had
best
no-
guess
I had
in
no clue.
retrospect.
I just thought like one of those Charlie Kirk shorts that you
And
put out got hit or something.
it could also be that.
But-
I may have said something
Yeah.
to trigger
so
the Twitter censors. That's possible.
Well, I mean, at least now I know. Don't do that.
Right. Yeah. It was a learning
All right.
curve.
So I'm just thinking very topical because it's the shit show and I didn't have any time to plan anything. But Iran is in the news obviously a lot, and on this show and myself, I tend to look at things through a biblical lens for most situations. I mean, I think if I look at things that way, it explains things a lot more than not. That said,
Yeah.
I'm curious because I like to use other people sort of as a barometer. So I kind of ask questions to see if people are in the same realm as what I'm seeing. I'm even working with younger guys now, and I'm just like, are you guys worried about getting drafted? And some of them are aware, some of them ain't. Some of them are like, if they call me, I'll go, and some of them are like, I'm not dying for Israel. So,
Right.
I don't. It's a tough. I don't. It's like I said, a barometer. So I was curious. Now, I have a theory with the Iran thing, and I think some of it is widely known, some of it may not be. But I'm more curious about how you guys see what's happening over there. What do you think they're trying to achieve? Because in my mind, I don't know that they even planned an end to this, other than trying to destroy everything, and that's it. I don't see an end to this. What do you guys think?
So, John, if it's we'll start, and then we'll get. I know what you're about to say, so we'll get into that here in a second. Um, so for me, because we talk about the Iran stuff pretty regularly, especially on our Tuesday stream, because that tends to be a lot more like, I guess, like just shit that's going on in the news type stuff. And I mean, at least recently, I think we covered this yesterday. It does seem to me like they are generating some kind of like fear-based end game for I don't know if it's going to be control. I don't know if it's going to be like trying to get people to, because I mean, some guy, we played some video of some guy who's like, yeah, you're about to like lock yourself down type shit, stuff's going to get so expensive you're not going to want to leave your house. And at the same time, we have all these like airplane videos about airplanes like falling out of the sky and shit like that going on. And so for me, a lot of it seems like it's just there to drum up fear, concern, and I don't know if there's additionally like some Hegelian dialectic type stuff with what's going on with Israel, trying to like drum up maybe some civil unrest, maybe some frustrations with the Netanyahus of the world, and trying to like force a reaction to that type of stuff. I really don't know. It does seem weird, and it is hard to see like a legitimate end game to whatever the fuck is going on over there. And I mean, John, do you want to talk about the noticing?
I mean, yeah, that's one thing that I've noticed about this a lot is it seems like they've put like the Israel and the Jew noticing like out in the mainstream, because we were talking a little bit about Owen off air is like, he did that back when it cost something. And now is like you can go out into the mainstream and you can kind of be one of those people and it costs you nothing, right? It actually like it gains you notoriety and it gains you attention. So I think part of that is to kind of like, for whatever reason, try to like put that what was a conspiracy narrative out into the mainstream. And I still haven't like figured out like what the end game of that would be. Maybe to like manufacture some type of like false persecution so they can bring out some type of solution to that. But you also see like what I've thought's really interesting about the Iran thing is they're not really trying to sell it the way that they sold the Middle Eastern wars of like the early 2000s. Like they haven't, they're not selling a terrorist threat. They're not selling like, oh, we need to get some type of oil. Is like that's a secondary narrative. Is like a lot of the narrative I've seen has been this kind of, religious narrative. They've kind of, we watched a video yesterday of like Netanyahu saying some like insightful stuff about Jesus to kind of like
How
drum
Jesus
up.
was like worse than Genghis Khan,
Yeah,
essentially.
something like that.
Yep.
So it's like
Yep.
they've sold this and like they've brought a more religious narrative into it. Lindsey Graham had some type of bullshit comment about this being a religious war and crap like that.
Don't forget Mike Huckabee.
Oh yeah, I mean he's a forgettable person, but they seem to have added like had that been like the core narrative of how they're selling this, and then I have no clue to what end. I kind of think it's ultimately going to be some type of leading to the manufactured crisis that they've got to bring. You add that with disclosure in the Epstein files. It seems like they're trying to like tear down our current societal order. They're trying to kind of seed distrust into all of the systems that quote unquote normies had faith in, and kind of try to slowly tear them down to rebuild a new order behind it.
I would concur with almost all of that. I think that, well, firstly, with your last point, they are definitely imploding the system that we know exists right now. Because you can't do these things without. I mean, it's almost that's what I'm trying to say when I'm trying to gauge people to
Yep.
see what they're seeing, because what they're doing is destroying the system that we're in monetarily, um, all the resources, how you're going to be able to feed yourself. Like all of these things are slowly crumbling piece by piece by piece. And there's not really being a spotlight shined on it from what I can tell. I know I see it and I'm going, hey guys, I'm not a crazy person, but this does not end well if we're going down this path. Like I
Yeah.
often describe it as like the train on the track scenario where I see a person standing on the train tracks and I say, hey, there's a train coming. And they're not only do they not acknowledge the train, they don't acknowledge the tracks, nothing. And so like this is sort of where I feel like I'm at because I, the again, so the Jewish prophecy, and I was going to pull it up, but I'll just wing it. They know and they expect that 2/3 of the Jewish people will have to die before their Mashiach comes back. And so my intuition tells me that they're trying to manufacture this prophecy because I've said it on a past show where when you get high ranking Jews together, and we've seen this on video with even Netanyahu meeting a high ranking rabbi, one of the first things he says is, what are you doing to bring back the Moshiach? Like, meaning that they feel like they have to take actions in order to provoke this thing to happen. And
Yeah.
that's what I'm kind of seeing because I don't know what the other end could be. Okay,
Yeah.
Yeah.
you slaughter people all over the world. It's on camera. You deny it. No, we're not. And then they start wars everywhere that can't end well.
Yeah.
And the only real ending that I can see is that, like, a lot of people die on both sides. And it seems like that's what they want.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know what else to make of that. I mean,
Yeah.
to me, it just seems that way.
None of it has any logic if you think that the world of like geopolitics is remotely real. There's like no logic behind it. I can't track anything of where any of this makes sense. Like you even take it on like a basic level of like, how Israel conducts PR is like if like the world of geopolitics was real and they're trying to like gain geopolitical favor, the way that they behave is like completely the opposite of doing that. Like you trounce out Mike Huckabee to do a horrible cover of Leonard Skinner, you're not going to gain any type of like favor or brownie points for that, and that's obvious to anybody. So it's like it's clear that the system that they're trying to sell you exists does not. It's not real.
It just brings up a point. It makes me think because we're going to touch on conspiracy stuff. So, do you think these videos are AI of Netanyahu? There's a lot of people that do.
They fucking look like it, man. I saw we covered a couple yesterday, and we're reaching the point with public AI where it's because obviously, like conspiracy theory world, I've assumed they've had this shit and been using it for a long time, right? But with what they're parsing out to the public, it's getting so damn confusing. Like I'm reaching a point where I don't know what to even believe is real, what to think is fake, what type of shit to even think about 90% of this stuff. The only thing I harken back to, and I can't even remember where I heard this talked about first, is like what is the uncanny valley theory, where like you look at something and it just seems off, right?
Yeah.
And that's the closest I'm coming to like feeling like I have any level of handle on this AI nonsense with all the propaganda. I don't know another word for it that's being put out there. All these, images, fucking videos of Netanyahu trying to wave his dick around, talking about Jesus and Genghis Khan and whatever other shit he's saying. And so my assumption is 90% of it's AI. Like he put out another video, just like talking about what they were going to do with Iran and like some prophecy shit with the Middle East. It all looks fake. There was that other one in like a cafe where allegedly,
Oh yeah, it's proof of life video.
yeah, like allegedly all of the writing in the cafe was fake. The whole, and so it seems like a lot of this is AI. It seems like a lot of it's fake, but that's coming from a retarded guy from Tennessee. So I don't actually know.
Well, I want to chime in about the AI because yesterday on Facebook, a friend of mine that I know since I'm 7 years old posted a video of him in some big recording studio with celebrities and other things going on, and I thought it was real. That's how how much it almost had me fooled. And I've been in the room with some of these same people, and when I called them about it, I mean, there was maybe 5% of the video where there was one or two moments where I said, okay, this maybe is partially AI. And he was like, no, that was all AI. I was in my pajamas taking a shit in my bathroom, and I just put that together. So it was kind of like, wow, this is getting scary. And he's not the type to spend a lot of money on a professional AI app. So it's something kind of basic as to what the average person has access to. So if you're talking about a big world government trying to really do a professional AI video, it's very, very scary. It's kind of terrifying.
Said in the past, I think this is just my intuition, but I think it's becoming more and more prevalent. I'm not sure that people see it like this the way that I do, but I think that the rollout of AI was a censorship tool in the way that they couldn't stop the flow of information on the internet. Not the way that they wanted to. They tried, we've seen censorship everywhere, and shit was still getting out. Now, how do you stop it now? If you can't stop the information, you muddy the waters. How do you even know what's real? How do you even know what's real at this point, right? And just like Drew said, so like I've said this in the past, and I'm saying it just because it seems more and more relevant as time goes on, because we're having the conversation right now. Was that him? Was it not him? Is he alive? Is he dead? 5 years ago, that wouldn't be a question. There's a video of him, right? So, I mean, in my estimation anyway, that I look at it like it's in part at least a censorship tool, because how do you know what's real? I mean, there's videos that they're saying are coming from Iran and Israel of these bombs dropping. Some of them are AI, some of them are not. So, which ones are? And so, like, where do you go from there? I don't know. I mean, again, muddy the waters, the actual information's in there somewhere, but how do you know the difference?
Yeah, I mean, it seems like a tremendous propaganda tool for, be it censorship, be it legitimately like propagandizing the masses. And I thought of two things there. One, I don't know, have you looked into like Isaac Asimov and his books at any
I
point?
definitely heard that name before, but I don't know that I've ever read anything.
Fair enough. He's like the father of science fiction, whatever. He wrote a book, a series of books called the Foundation Trilogy, where they're all predicated on this idea of like mankind super predictable, but only in masses, right? And so like the larger the mass of people, the easier they are to predict, and the like more straightforward it is onto how to like shift them one direction or another. And so I'm starting to wonder, with all this like AI propaganda out there, how much it really is a tool to like certainly censor, whatever nonsense they want censored out there, to make it confusing as to what even to believe, to kind of destroy people's sense of belief in anything, because you flip through your phone and you're like, well, son of a bitch, it's all fucking fake. Why would I even believe in damn anything at this point? It's all bullshit, and even past that though, it's such an easy way to move the mass consciousness one direction or another, because if they can flood the media with all of these AI videos of fucking Iran or OnlyFans tits or Epstein lists or fucking who what have you, it's a super easy, convenient way to push the mass consciousness one direction or another. It's super simple in that regard to do that. And yeah, okay, that's all I had written down. Sweet. Okay.
I think the next big wave of things we should see are people coming out with anti-AI apps, meaning software and programs that are made to hunt out and identify AI. I think that would be like the next technological advance. And then it'll always be like, when you update the app on your phone, the operating system on your phone, there'll always be a battle of, well, now the new AI can trick those AI debunk apps. So now they're going to come out with a new app, and it's going to be a constant back and forth. But I think we may eventually see those where, hey, download this program and you could, tag a video and run a video through, and it'll identify if it's 80% likely it's AI or not. But then again, we're still left in that kind of gray area, what to believe, what not to believe. Nothing's 100%.
Yeah, and they're already seeding like doubt into those systems, because whatever the fuck it's called that like college professors use, like GPT detector. Is like I've seen people are going and like putting in like the Gettysburg Address or like Martin Luther King's speech or like Bible passages, and it's like highlighting them as like 80%, 100% AI. So it's like I saw like Ron DeSantis put something on Twitter for one of those. So it's like they've already seeded doubt into even like that system would be reliable. So
I
I had a
tend
buddy of
to
mine.
agree.
I had a buddy of mine ask ChatGTP a question about filing his taxes. It gave him the wrong information. Then when he called the app out on it, like, well, that was the wrong answer, the app actually answered and said, "Oh yeah, you're right. I made a mistake," and then try to correct itself. So it's like,
Holy
what
shit.
the fuck?
yeah, dude.
It's like, oh, it's like you're just like a person. You're full of
Yeah.
deceit and bullshit.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, fucking Nvidia just came out and said they have artificial general intelligence now. And so, like, allegedly, it's essentially like the same at learning new information and mastering new tasks as like a person.
Yeah.
And that's just like what they're pushing out to the public.
Yeah.
So what year do we think Skynet's going to come online?
I mean, so we saying it hasn't already? Like,
I've been saying
predicating
this-
on that assumption.
I have been saying this for years. Like I feel like I'm Sarah Connor going, guys, this don't end well. Guys,
Yeah.
listen, the way we're going, this isn't good. Like what you're doing, and they're like, but it's so convenient. Like while they're typing away trying to figure stuff out, but it's so convenient. I'm like, guys, stop and think ahead a little bit, just a little bit. Like where do you think this goes?
Yeah.
I just don't. There's just to touch on the propaganda thing. Edward Bernays is like the father of this propaganda in the United States. Have you ever heard that name before, Edward Bernays?
No, it's a new one to me.
I've heard
Okay.
it.
So Edward Bernays, it was, let me think, 1890s, I think, something like that. Anyway, he was the one that did a lot. So this is, the propaganda doesn't have to be in the news. It doesn't have to be about wars. It doesn't have to be about government. It's also about ads. So they started by selling things to people with his knowledge. So like he knew how to manipulate people with the words, to say them the right way, along with the inflection of the words and along with color codings that affect different people. Because I don't know if you know this part, but like the red doors on houses when they're being sold is a manipulation. The real estate agents will paint the doors red, and that way when you walk through, you have this feeling of like a homeliness vibe. It's supposed to invoke this feeling in you as you walk in the door. Okay, so like that's why you'll see there's nothing else red on a house, but you'll see a red door. That for people that don't know, the reason why that's there, it's because it's to invoke something in you that you're subconsciously not thinking about, or subconsciously thinking about, but not consciously thinking about. So like they started doing this years ago. 200 years ago, they were starting to figure out how to manipulate people. Edward Bernays' great-granddaughter is one of the part owners of Netflix. You see what comes out of Netflix.
Yeah.
So this is what I'm trying to get at, is that if people are not conscious enough to understand what they're being shown. Drew has mentioned a thing before about showing the people in Iran that are cheering that they're bombing Iran to put in a new government. And I'm like, stop to think about why you're being shown that.
Yeah.
Whether it's true or not, stop to think about why you're being shown that. Because they've had 200 years now and more to figure out how to really dial this in and really affect people. And so even with the advent of AI, I mean, that's just another tool. And I'm sure whatever version they have is far superior than to whatever we've ever seen.
Yeah.
But I mean, again, this is my point, is that we are constantly being manipulated by the things that we're unaware of. Colors, words, the inflections of words, how you say them. It's all relative to get you to do something, whether that's buy something, sell something, whatever that might be. You sell your soul, who knows? I mean, because like we're like at that point again, like with the biblical lens. I don't know that like most people are completely unaware. Like completely. Like if I say this to an average person that like the red door means they're trying to get you to feel, they're go, what are you, a crazy person? That's not a thing. You know what I mean? Um,
Yeah.
so that's what I'm trying to touch on is that like the idea of thinking about what you're being shown and why you're being shown it. You know, they want you to feel a certain way. They want you to act a certain way. Because when it comes to these wars, this is number one. You have to co-sign this shit. They have to convince most people that it's okay because they can't fight the wars by themselves. They're sending our sons and daughters to go do that. Remember that, right? Like they're sending our kids and our family members to go fight these wars for them. And there's really no outcome that they've even said was going to happen. Like, why are we doing this?
Yeah.
I I I don't know. I don't know how to put it to make it any more clear, but I always come back to this because part of what I do is what some people might call preparedness. And like I work for a power company and this gets brought up every show. I drum this in there because it's relevant as hell. Have a backup plan for your power. Have a backup plan for your food. Have a backup plan to be self sufficient in some way, even if it's small scale, because it's a leverage point. So when they inevitably say you have to be in for this or we take this, they did it at COVID. They did it during COVID, right? You take the shot or you can't go to work,
Yeah.
right? So I mean, this is what I'm getting at is that like this, there's something building here, and I think at some point they're going to try to start drawing lines, and they're going to be like, you're either with us or against us.
Yeah.
Definitely feels
No.
like
Yeah.
a prep for something. They're prepping for something. When and what is to be revealed. But yeah, it's. I get the same feeling. It's an eerie feeling.
Yeah, and here in Tennessee, we talked about this a little while back. We had that big ice storm that came back, or that came through, and I kind of noticed a little bit of like a societal trend during that. One, what you hit on is like nobody's prepared for shit. Like Nashville was out of power for 2 weeks, and I'm sure it was a hellhole. But two is like there was this weird leftover behavior patterns from Corona in a lot of people that I kind of saw manifest. Like there were a lot of people in like our town Facebook groups that were like losing their mind, that like people were going out of their house like during the ice storm and like causing some type of perceived danger to them, and they were like doing that same type of shaming crap that they were doing in Corona for people just living their everyday life. And like they've seeded that behavior into a large portion of the population, to where it's like if you flip a switch, you can just get people to like lose their mind over people just living how they normally live, and it's like they can turn it off and they can turn it on. So it's like that behavior is still sitting in, I don't know how much, but a definite large portion of the population, that they can activate it. And dude, from there it's like they can kind of do what they want.
Dude, it's MK Ultra type shit. Like
Yeah.
the level of propaganda people are inundated with, and then you hit them with a trauma like Corona, like all the bombings,
Yeah.
all the fucking snuff films people are seeing on the internet. That is all of those traumatic events, which are they're assaults on your psyche, essentially can allow them to more or less split the personality, such that with the right trigger, we can call on a new version of you, a new asshole, cunty Karen bitch to come out and complain about how some son of a bitch was on the road. He could have fucking run into a light pole, that whore. And like, it doesn't matter to you. Like you're in your house 3 hours away and you're you're jerking off complaining about this guy driving his truck around in a snowstorm. You're upset about that? Really?
Yeah.
And it's this complete shift in personality, and I was just like, that was just hitting me as you were talking about it. It's very MK Ultra, this whole idea of like triggering that Manchurian candidate with the right thing, and people have become so attached and dependent on comfort, and I would argue largely as a result of like the level of propaganda and the bullshit education system. We're bred to be consumers, not independent, not producers. We're bred to be consumers, and you take that fear, you add in a little trauma, you split that, and you can essentially call on that personality en masse via the media instantly. You just have to fake the right event, man. That's all it takes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the weaker personalities are more susceptible to it. Some people doesn't take much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Embarrassing how little it takes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I actually think that's what part of the plan actually is, some kind of false flag, because this is their go-to. This is what they do. When they need people to get on board, something's going to happen. I don't know what that. Oh God, I have no idea what they're capable of at this point. But it just seems like that would be the go-to card to play, because that's the one they like to play the most. Look what they did. Let's go get them. Right.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it just feels like that's the scenario that's eventually going to present itself in some way. And I think that's why it's good, even if we're not some huge show, to at least put it out there for people to consider whenever the time comes. You know, is this that thing that they're trying to sell us on?
Yeah, I mean that's a big thing that I kind of try to focus on. You know, I've gotten to the point to where, you know, you can look at an event, and like Charlie Kirk was a great example of this. Is like you can look at it like an event, you can look at a narrative, you can look at like the story, and for the most part, that's completely meaningless. Like the story of did Israel kill Charlie Kirk is kind of meaningless if you're trying to like pay attention to the meta narrative. What are they trying to use this event for? How are they trying to like manipulate people, push culture based on what happened? Like, you know, they kind of seed both sides of the narrative a lot. And like Charlie Kirk was a great example of it. Like they seeded the conspiracy theorist narrative, you know, against the mainstream narrative from the get-go, you know? So it's like the biggest thing, like what you were talking about, is like pay attention to the meta narrative.
Awesome. I do not mean to interrupt, but that comment was perfect.
It was great. Yeah.
That was golden.
Good job, Patrick. No, I mean, yeah, I it's one of those things where, that's the tough part, man. Because, you know, even people you care about, you can tell them this and they won't see it. You know, it made the thing about COVID is, I think one of the things I learned is exactly how many people would follow their bullshit. You know, when they said that. I was just having this conversation in the truck earlier with an apprentice that I'm with, and he was 14 and his mom made him take the shot, and we were talking about it. And I said, just remember what they told you. It came in the beginning. It came from bat soup. I said, now that should have been a red flag for most people. It came from bat soup.
Yeah.
And then as the story went on, it changed, as all lies typically do when something doesn't make sense. And then they said, and by the way, we just made the cure 5 minutes ago, and it's perfectly safe for everybody.
Right.
Yep.
These are things that, like, as a critical thinker, you should be like, hold up. You know what I mean? These things cannot be true. But inside of all of that narrative is a bunch of fear. Be afraid. Don't go outside. Don't hug anybody. Don't talk to anybody. You know, like, and so, like, no matter how ridiculous it all is, people get plugged in, they get afraid. And the thing with fear is that it's the biggest motivating emotion in most things, but especially in humans. You can get people to do ridiculous shit just because they're afraid. And that, again, with the Edward Bernays thing, like this, they've learned this. They don't have to tell you a good lie. Just look, they're not even trying to lie about. Nope, they keep asking what's going on in Iran and Israel. Nobody even has an answer. You know, like they're not even trying to sell it to you anymore. They're just trying to make you afraid. Like that's all they're doing now. They're not even, at least whenever they went into Iraq, at least the story was the story. You know, like as fucked up as it all was that they're trying to do this crazy shit. It's like, but now it's like they don't even bother to lie to you. They're just like, be afraid. Just be afraid and we'll tell you what to do.
Right. Yeah. At least during Iraq and Afghanistan, we had fucking good old boys with mullets and rebel flags yelling "Hell yeah!" drinking fucking Budweisers and pretending like they were in war while they jerked off to video games in their parents' basement. That was back when America was great. Now we have all these fucking cunts shilling for Israel, waving a Ukraine flag out of their asshole, trying to virtue signal, pretending like they have some kind of moral superiority. because of all this. Yes, so true. And there's no legitimate narrative. You're so right. Nobody can come up with a real reason why the hell we're engaged in all of that. It's so wild. It's so
Just
wild.
think about this is just like the bat soup thing, right? First they said we have to bomb them so that they don't have nukes, right? And then they bombed the shit out of them for 12 days. And they
Right.
said they came back on TV and they said we got rid of their nuclear program. And then a month later they said you can't have nukes. That's it. They're talking to Iran on national television to the people that they just told a month before that they destroyed their nuclear program and then said they can't have nukes. We have to stop them from having nukes. And I'm like, hold up. Didn't you just say you destroyed their whole nuclear program?
Right.
What are you talking about? But there's still people that have like, I swear to God, the goldfish fucking thing is real. Like it's just gone. They just forgot they even said it. Like they can't have them. And I'm like, dude, they just said they stopped them from 12 days. They bombed them. They blew up mountains. Like because that's where they were supposed to be making them. They said they were gone. Like and now we're going back to stop them from making it again. And I'm like, I don't know where I'm surrounded by people where I'm just like, bro, like. How did you forget what they just said? It's bat soup. It's fucking the nukes. It's like, come on, man. Come on, please. Because you're a problem for me when you do this. Like, that's the problem. It's like, and no matter how thoroughly you explain it, the blank, glazed over stare presents itself. And they're just like, you're not a television. I don't believe you. It's the craziest thing I've ever seen.
It's that immediate personality shift when these folks get triggered. It's like they slip into some kind of weird, like fucking pseudo hypnotic state. And this playbook is straight. I would argue this playbook is straight out of 1984. There were all of the like. I don't know if you guys have read 1984, but there were a lot of references in the book to like Big Brother one day will say like chocolate rations are 8 ounces. I think the example they used was chocolate rations are 8 ounces, and then the next day they'll come out and say thanks, Big Brother. The chocolate rations have been raised to 6 ounces. And it's like, son of a, do you not remember yesterday? There were more. You got more yesterday. You're getting fucking less today. Are you retarded? You're thanking them for giving. It's fucking stupid. It's the same playbook running over and over and over again. It's like we got to nuke them so we can stop them from having nukes, which was one I didn't understand as a fucking kid. It's like it's okay for us to have them, but not Iran. That doesn't seem fair. I was a retarded kid. I didn't understand why that made sense to other people, but like it makes no sense.
Hide under your desk in case of a nuclear explosion.
Right.
That's the fear. That's the fear thing that they're instilling in. The poor kids are in class and they're like, "We're going to pretend like a bomb just went off down the street, a nuclear blast. So hide under your desk." Like, how's that going to help? It's not. It's not going to help at all. And now you're instilling that fear factor, that constant fear. We have back in the day when it was Russia, they put bomb shelters in public places for people that never got used. And that was all fear. Fear, fear, fear. Be afraid. It's a never ending cycle that I think some people like the cortisol. I think that's what it is. I think that they like that fucking cortisol rush of being afraid and then just going to the nearest screen to tell them what to do. It's like, it's madness, and I don't know what to make of it because, like here, I'm stuck in the middle, and I'm going, guys, listen, they've already showed you what they're capable of with COVID. Remember when they were talking about putting people in camps? Do you remember that? Like, I mean, this is where they're. I'm a big proponent of self-sufficiency because they know everybody's leverage points. One of those leverage points is when you're in debt. And then when you're in debt at any level, if you don't want to give up the thing that you're in debt for, you're going to do whatever they say when they say, we're not going to give you access to money. You're not going to be able to go to work. And like in this new future that it seems like is coming up with cryptocurrency is we're going to cut off your card. You're not allowed to travel past 15 miles to go anywhere because your card won't work out there. And this is a thing that they've been planning. There's also a lockdown 2.0 that apparently is in the works. I don't know if you guys heard of this, but like for energy rationing, where you can only go but so far without permission. Now, who knows if that would actually transpire, but like the way things are going with oil because of this war, it's sort of like, that could be a thing. You know what I mean? Because could you even afford to travel that far? First of all, if fucking gas is over $200 a barrel. Yeah. But even if you could, how can you if they're telling? Again, this is just a madness. And when I see people cheering on this thing, we got to bomb the Muslims, right? Or they can't have a nuke. And I'm just like, guys, that's not what this is about, dude. They're trying to control you. And if you have leverage against you by having debt and having to go to them for food, because I always say this, for lack of better words, the beast system that we're involved in. You know, when you become dependent on this system, regardless how you see it, when they leverage it against you, when you have no other alternative, you're going to have to do what they tell you to do, or find that alternative quickly, which is why I keep advocating self-sufficiency. I mean, on whatever scale you can do it, find a way. I don't care if it's fucking, you know, Owen Benjamin's great for this. Start growing fucking tomatoes in buckets. Yes, start somewhere, because even the shit that they sell in the stores, it's borderline not even food anymore. That's the craziest part. They just let this glyphosate thing go that they could have stopped that. I mean, I'm sure you guys are familiar with the glyphosate, but like it kills everything that it touches, everything on a cellular level. When they spray a field with that, they have to put genetically modified plants. It's the only way that they can grow, because it literally kills everything else, including the dirt, the microbe in the dirt, every weed, every bug, everything. And it's still on there when you eat it. It doesn't go away. You can't wash it off.
Yeah.
So, I mean, this is why I always bring this around, because it's inconvenient, but it's a hard truth that needs to be said. Collectively, if we don't start to become self-sufficient in some way, if you're not able to do with less, the leverage that they possess will work on you, and you will do things that you don't want to do.
That's 100% true, and that's coming from somebody who's in the position of being, I think I can say this, grade A bitch. Like I live in a fucking duplex with no backup plan, and I'm in an outrageous amount of student loan debt. But you could not be more correct about that, because the leash they have on everybody, the trigger point they have for every single person out there is comfort, convenience, and once that's threatened, people will immediately cave and do whatever folks say, you know, whatever they're told to do. I worked for a clinical research company in the middle of the lockdowns, which was ironic, and that's a whole nother story. But like, I was exposed to the most normie of the normies. And I mean, all you had to do was look at them sideways about a jab, and they were rushing to immediately, like, whatever the latest, greatest fucking cancer stick was. Like, it takes so little when people have become so addicted to comfort, so addicted to convenience, and none of us know how to be even remotely self-sufficient anymore. Like, and the sad thing is, like, it's something people like you are having to like rediscover how to do it for yourself, because it used to be, you know, once upon a time, you fucking grew up in the woods, you know, woke up with morning wood, and then you went out and built a cabin, and now it's a completely different story.
Yeah. And for the record, like, I want to make sure that this is clear, because a lot of people think that this is inconceivable to walk this route. I grew up in the city. I was a city kid. I knew nothing about what I'm doing now. I knew nothing. Other than when I was younger, we used to go hunt and fish a lot. But other than that, I knew nothing. And I seen the writing on the wall 10 years ago, and the timing was just before COVID when I started. And I was like, I see it so clearly now that, like, we have to start now. We have to start now, because this is something that, you know, I don't think anybody's ever recognized before, as the capability that they were actually able to want to do this to people, to make them comply. And I was like, and it's just pure leverage. Like, we're dependent on them, and so they're going to use that as leverage. How do you be not dependent on them? Well, start cutting the strings. Do it the best way you can. If whatever land, you don't have to have 1,000 acres. You don't have to have 40 acres. You know, 1/2 acre plot can produce a ton of stuff if you're motivated to do it. It requires work. It requires work. But I mean, would you rather put in the work or be a slave? Because that's what it's basically boiling down to.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, and also too, that is like not only just like do the shit yourself, but also like make an effort to, you know, get to know the people in your community that are growing your food. Like, cut out the grocery store crap. Start looking for like farmers markets and local butchers. Like, look the people like in the eye who are growing your food. You know, like that's where I've kind of tried to start. Is like, hey, like find a
simpler
local
first step. Yeah.
It is a very simple first step. It's like, hey, don't go to like Kroger or Walmart. Walk into a local butcher shop, shake the owner's hand, right, who's feeding you, and like get to know him, get to know like how it's grown, where it's coming from, and like have conversations with them, and like build actual community around that, you know, because it's like that's how at least it's supposed to work.
Yeah. Our butcher here in Columbia has a diamond-crusted Rolex. I was wildly impressed. He must be doing very well. I noticed that.
You're gonna have to
That's
tell
never
me which one after this.
Yeah, I've never seen that walking into a butcher shop. The guy was like blinged out. It was the strangest thing in rural Tennessee to see a guy in a tiny butcher shop. That's a complete aside, but you mentioned
Listen,
something
that's
else.
that. Let me just add. That's a good
Yeah.
point because also around here, it's similar, I assume, in a lot of different ways as to Tennessee. We're in Pennsylvania, by the way. But one of the biggest things is that you can go meet a farmer, and that's always really good. And you, like I do, I know the butcher down the street. You know what they don't have a lot of in most places? Butchers. Because I know cattle ranchers, people that have cattle, and they can't get them produced. I'm sorry, no, processed
Processed?
fast enough.
Yep.
They
Yep.
can't. Like, there's a line. Like, there's just there's one guy that does whole counties.
Yeah.
So, in that regard, that would be where the Rolex might actually show up at because they got business down the street for years. And that, just to put a point on it, like, butchering is a skill. And if you wanted a job and you can handle doing that on a 9 to 5, there's business everywhere for that. I mean, it was the number one thing because there's a place that's about an hour from here that I went past, and we go and get different stuff from them. And they were running low on the steaks that we were grabbing. And because we're not, just for the record, like, we're not completely self-sufficient either. We're working up to that. Like, we have goats and chickens, and we have an orchard, and we grow things. But, like, this is a process. This is, like, it takes a long time. It takes a lot. There's a lot to learn. There's a lot of work to put in. And like you said, the best part is community. Like, if you're growing this and they're growing that, okay, that's how this works, right? Like, you can trade some of it off, like, this is how you get to be a strong community. But the butcher there's only one. He's like, we have a line. We have 30 cattle that need to be done. And he's like, there's 5 other cattle farmers around here that all need theirs done as well. So, like, they're ready. They just can't get them processed. It's amazing.
Yeah. That's wild. And you mentioned something like in the midst of all, like the whole idea of work is one that's become so twisted. It's become this like sick, inverted 9 to 5, go work for Satan. It's your corporate job, sucking on your boss's dick, listening to middle-aged white ladies complain about how many meetings they have to go to and how their husband can't get it up because he's an alcoholic anymore. Like, that's what work has become. Work used to be like this real, tangible, fucking actual thing where you went out, you did a real thing. It required like mental acuity, physical strength, but that stuff pours back into you. And we're seeing this thing where, like, I go to my corporate job, a lot of other people I'm sure do too, and you come back fucking dead exhausted emotionally, mentally, spiritually, and physically. You're fat as fuck, you have diabetes, and your cholesterol's way out of whack. Whereas people who go out and do like legitimate real work on the farm, maybe in a butcher shop, whatever it happens to be, like, they're doing honest to goodness work. I wouldn't call whatever this corporate nonsense is work. People who are doing actual work, like, they come home, they're fucking exhausted, but mentally, spiritually, emotionally, physically, like, they're ready to go. I see this in like parents who are just like pouring into their kids, their spouses, like they're ready to fucking, they're not exhausted. They are exhausted, but they're not exhausted like a little bitch like me. Like, they have energy left to do the things that need to be done. And I think that's one of the biggest fundamental differences for a lot of people out there, myself included, is understanding how different the corporate inverted work system is from actual real work.
Don't cut yourself short because providing is providing. But I do see your point. Like, I mean, because I have to do a 9 to 5. It's more like 10 to 12 hours a day. But even that, like, I'm constantly working. And the reason is because, in part, let me put it this way. I have a past that's not, it's crazy. Growing up in the city, you do a lot of wild stuff. and I just felt like I wasted the first half of my life on bullshit.
Yeah.
And like I made a change, and I work my ass off now, harder more than I should. I hurt myself. I just keep going. Um, but it's because I've wasted so much time, and there's so much to do. The weekends. I'm building all the time, all my free time. There is no free time. There's no. That's not a thing. And I'm
I can
doing
vouch for
this.
that.
What?
Every I said I can vouch for that. Every time I talk to you, you're building something. You're doing something.
Yeah, yeah. But I'm doing this for the future. This has nothing to do with me. I'm building
Yeah.
this for my kids, and hopefully, if they can benefit their kids. Um, and I think that's part of what the focus that most people lose is. It's all about me, me, right? But like what I'm building, I know, like the planting a tree that you'll never sit under the shade of, right? Like I realize that's probably my situation, but I'm good with that because I'm trying to make something that's going to hopefully prevail through the future, that somebody in my family or somebody's family that appreciates it at least, that will be there to get the fruit from that tree, sit under the shade of that tree. And I think that if we can start to do this, like if we start with something along that line, all this other bullshit that's going on in the world starts to less affect you, right? Because there's no oil. Well, people used to make their own. You know that, right? Like there's no gas. People did used to make their own gas. They say part of the reason for prohibition was that what the farmers were making was actually fuel. And
Right.
it was all, grain, alcohol, you can run a car on that.
Yep.
So like it has two purposes. uh, but I mean, like that's part of the reason why people speculate, because at that same time they were pushing gas. They had gas stations, right? So, there are ways to do things, but it also requires a ton of sacrifice. And I think that people, not only do they not have the focus on the future, it's all about the now and it's all about me, but they don't want to put in the work, bro. Like that's what it comes down to. They don't want to put in work. They are tired. They go out to work and they're tired, and I get it. And they come home and they want to relax. They want to stare at the TV. But at those times, I feel like they're slowly coming to an end. That like you have to bust your balls, or it's just going to be rough for you no matter what. They're going to use the leverage. They're going to tell you to go do something. They're going to say jump, and you're going to say how high because you have no other option.
Yeah. Well, and how did we reach a point where all we want to do is, because I do this regularly like an asshole. How did we reach a point where all we want to do is come home and fucking turn off and stare at a screen? Mimi and Pop Pop didn't do that. I'm pretty sure. I don't think they had televisions in the 1890s or whatever the hell. Like, how did we reach? How did we get from point A to point B? That's one that I still don't completely understand, because it's not a natural thing to want to do. But everyone I know, like that's, if they had the opportunity to like just go home and pass out for an hour and shut the kids up and fucking turn on the television and just turn off, they're gonna do that. And that's to me, like when I see that behavior in myself, I'm like, that's kind of sick and diseased. I wonder where that came from. Like, I'm just curious as to how we developed that. Is it propaganda? Is it just the inversion of the, like, where do you guys think that came from?
I was watching, this is perfect. I was watching, I get about maybe an hour at the end of the day, typically at the day, where me and my wife will sit down after the kids are in bed. We're laying in bed and we'll put some show on. And I was watching, I think it's 1883 or something along those lines. It's like an old West TV show. The point is in that show is the time when appliances became a thing. And I swear to God, when I was watching this, I said I should clip this because I'm going to need this. And I didn't do it, but I'm gonna go try and do it tonight. There was the guy, a cowboy, arguing with the guy that had the stove and the refrigerators for sale. And he's like, this is just a convenience that we're going to have to keep coming back to you for. Why would anybody want to do that? Right? Like, that's basically what it boiled down to. That he was saying that, like, you're selling us this convenience, and when it breaks or when we don't know how to fix it or whatever it is, right? Like, we can't take care of ourselves if we rely on these conveniences. And that was 100% true, because it started there where we all just started to trade off the work for conveniences, and these conveniences have taken over our lives. We can't just think that like I said, I work for a power company. People will die without that power. They will die without it. And in the past, people didn't need it at all. You know, so I mean, that's what I think when I say doing better with less, doing more with less, looking at the bigger picture, because the way that they're projecting these energy things, it's like when you turn on a light, you're gonna be like how your grandfather might have been when they were like, we're not lighting the whole neighborhood, or shut that door, we're not air conditioning the neighborhood. Whatever particular area you're from, there was some version of that. But I mean, that's the way it's going to be. Turn those lights off. We're not in that room, because it's getting to that point now where it's like energy costs. Every time I do something on a street, they come outside and, is this going to affect my electric bill, because it's already $400 a month?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
I mean, but my question to you would be, given some of the stuff that we talked about, because again, I use other people as a barometer. I kind of see things my way, but I'm always curious about how other people see it. What would you say that we need to do to kind of? This is a cruise ship. You're not just doing a fucking 180 with it, right? We got to slowly start turning this thing around. So what would you do to start picking that away? What would you do to whether it's for yourself or somebody else? What would you say you should start doing?
Oh, John, you have a quick, clear answer?
I mean, definitely not quick. You know, that's it's a difficult question, but it has to start with like recognizing what's at the root of all of this. What's at the root of all of this, and doing the opposite of that. Like for me, 2020 was like a big highlight for me. That like watching all of these countries and all of this bullshit, all these people like move in lockstep with one another when we're told that that's not how the nature of it should work. Watching that happen, it dawned on me that like whatever's like pushing this thing is not men, right? It goes like further than that. It's like some type of like spiritual supernatural push that's like pushing society in the direction that we've been talking about. It can't be men, right? It's too organized for it to be men, and it spans lifetimes. So it's like recognizing that first and foremost is that like, hey, the societal structure, the corporate structure that you've been given, it's handed to you. It's not handed to you just by men. Like it's handed to you by like opposing supernatural and spiritual forces, and like recognizing that, and then like knowing like, how do I turn away from that? What's the remedy to turn away from that? It's like that's where you got to start. It goes so much deeper than just like even just physical actions, which are just as important. Does that kind of make sense?
I think that makes sense.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I think for
Yeah.
me, if you want to talk about like turning a cruise ship, I think the only way, like because I like the idea of that question, because a lot of people in this space kind of just talk about life and the future in these just sad, hopeless terms, and it makes me depressing, and it exhausts me, and it makes me want to go home and cry and shove my head in the toilet. So I don't like to think that way, if I can help it. So I think one of the most rational things to do, as far as starting to move the needle on that score, is simply to couch the things we're talking about in terms that rational people who aren't fully tipped over into schizophrenic retard nonsense like I am to understand. Because I find that like people like me and other like people I'm friends with out in the community, they want to meet new people and start talking about like the Nephilim, sex magic, and fucking burying children on Epstein's Island. And it's like, guys, love you. That's interesting, but I don't think Elder Don at your local church is super excited to hear about that. That's probably not going to be point A in that conversation. It's not a good starting point. And so I think couching things in rational, easy to understand terms is one of the easiest ways to move the needle in community. Like, and I don't know if this is like me kind of being a shill, but like even on like a from a health perspective or a social perspective, I'll tend to, if I'm talking to somebody who's like maybe an atheist, or maybe they're like a trans fag or something like that, I'll couch them in more, I don't know, more secular terms. Like if we're talking about the utility of I don't know, butt fucking. We'll talk about how that's not the most useful thing on a socioeconomic scale and doesn't make a lot of sense on an evolutionary scale. And we'll couch it in terms that you can like let's talk about Darwin and how the internal logic of that works from that perspective. And then if we need to walk it back and get a little deeper, we can. But I think couching some of these things in more reasonable terms for the masses, I don't know, for me seems to help move the needle in my own little world. I don't know about other people. Maybe is that what we were getting at?
Yeah,
I may have lost the thread somewhere along the line.
no, no, no. I mean, because you both touched on something that I kind of see it this way, is that I think the first step is, in my opinion anyway, is actually realizing that this is a spiritual battle. This is
Yeah.
a spiritual battle.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And through that, then we can start to break down, like what it is that we can do to take action. Because one of my favorite sayings is the real N word is no. They hate when you say no.
Yeah.
So, I mean, with that said, you have to be able to draw a hard line. So, it's a spiritual battle. Where is the spiritual battle coming from? Who's telling you you have to do these things that you know aren't right? And if you're connected to that in any way, begin to sever the ties. And then that way you're more free to do what you need to do. And again, with it being a spiritual battle, I'm constantly trying to find guidance because some of these questions are really hard. Some of them are like, when, where, why, how. And it's like, that's when you get on your knees and you start asking for that guidance. And I think that through those actions to begin with, along with the long term focus that this is not just about me, I think we're at the point now where a calling is going to start, whether people realize it or not, because everybody's so soft. Like, they can't survive without the amenities. They just can't. So, if the amenities get shut off, the calling is going to start whether people realize it, want it or not. And that's the crazy part because we're seeing it. Like they're talking about, brownouts possibly. Like if this thing keeps going, like what they're doing, less fuel for everything, right? So like, how do you circumvent being a victim of that? There's a lot of different ways, but I mean, all that said, there's also an avenue that you have to walk because none of us are millionaires or we can buy our way out of it. Again, with the billionaires, they're building bunkers. Why are they building bunkers? Right?
Yeah.
Like all of them, somewhere in the world, they have a huge bunker built. That should be another one of these indicators. Like the people with all the money are trying to go hide. Like they want a place to go hide. Why would they spend all the money on a place to go hide? Of all the things that they could be doing with their money, they're building bunkers. So I mean, it's a good indicator to say, get your house in order, get right with God, realize it's a spiritual battle, and don't give them the leverage to manipulate you and recognize what's happening when it's happening instead of falling for the propaganda that we were talking about earlier. And again, more important than all of that is realizing that there's a future that we're accountable for. Our kids, if you don't have kids, somebody does, right? So like, do you want to see a future for mankind? Do you want to see a future for your people? Because if we don't start thinking like that collectively, which has not been a focus in recent generations, I could crash on the boomers all fucking day. They have to be the worst for real. Like they would, as soon as 17 and a half start finding an apartment, throw them right out the fucking door. Like, you know what I mean? Like it's so crazy to me that was a mindset at that time. But I mean, the point is that that's what I think is at least the very first step. Realizing that it's a spiritual battle. There's more to this than what you think there is. And then trying to find the most viable path for you as an individual to begin to separate yourself from those leverage points.
Yeah, and the people who, the majority of people, especially because I'm in New York City, so I'm just using that as an example that everybody's like plugged into the matrix.
Yeah.
I was able to grow up where I had time away from the city and I'd be in the woods at cabins, lakes, all that kind of outdoor stuff. But even myself, hooked on technology, my mindset is trying to wean myself off, go longer periods of time, find parts in the day where I'm not online in the internet, or I'm not playing with all my electronics, or I'm not staring at my phone. Maybe pick up a trade like fishing, hiking, just kind of to do a reset in your mind to be more accustomed to doing outdoor things, even if it's towards a survival ish kind of activity, even though you're not, it's for recreation, just so it's not a big shock for somebody who just sits on the couch every day when they come home from their cubicle and then they get thrusted into having to survive and like chop firewood or do something. They're going to lose their fucking mind. They're not
Yeah.
going to be able to be of any use to anybody. So just as like a starting point for me to kind of recalibrate myself, like, okay, less phone time, less internet time, less tech, more of me spending time outside, getting my smell, my senses, my sight, the sun, sweating more, not always having the air condition on. Little nonsense things that don't really mean anything, but do if things take a turn for the worst quicker than you would expect. For people who are just kind of like stuck in that
Yeah.
kind of spoiled, like, I'm guilty of it too. Go to work, kill yourself all day, come home, turn on the TV. Eat a bunch of food, eat more than you need to eat, then eat dessert before you even digest. We've all
Yep.
done it. So going days where I fast and I don't even eat till after 4 or 5 or 6 or 7 o'clock at night and fight through those feelings of hunger while I'm doing physical activity. And you can adapt to these things. So these are like little things that I'm trying for myself to get out of that comfortable. What happens if the power goes off tomorrow? And all the food goes bad in the fridge. Can I go to the local lake and fish? If it gets cold in the winter, can I start a fire? Can I maintain it without burning the neighborhood down? Just like little things like this.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
People aren't going to think about until it's like, okay, now you got to figure it out. And all you got is a half-used book of matches and a half a pack of, frozen, chicken nuggets in the freezer and no way to cook.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so true. Yeah, I found myself in that position when we had the storm here in Tennessee. Like I didn't have shit to do. But I'm curious. Like you mentioned, like I think you said both of you kind of grew up in bigger city areas, right?
Yeah.
Um,
Brooklyn, New York City, yeah.
okay, so how much do you feel like yourself? And maybe I'm misinterpreting this, but like how much do you feel yourself kind of fighting that internal battle? For me, I couch it in more spiritual terms, like this whole idea of denying the flesh in an effort to pursue something bigger. Like how much do you find yourself kind of having to fight tooth and nail to pursue the better things? Because that's for me, like looking at it from when I try to do those things here, like it's almost, I don't know, there's a very spiritual bent to, instead of going home and turning on the TV and fucking turning off for an hour and a half, going home and turning on the air conditioning, whatever it happens to be. Like it's very like Jesus saying, like, pick up your cross and follow me. Like it's not dissimilar to that. And so how much do you find yourself kind of fighting that internal battle?
Well, put it this way: the last 12 to 15 years, I always had a sense because my family did well since I'm 6, 7, 8 years old, bringing me out, hanging out with my uncles who were hunters and fishermen. Kind of like there was no cell phones, so coming back to the city, and now as I'm getting older, I have more, I guess, of an anxiety of knowing that I can't be here. No matter how prepared or how much I train myself, it's not going to be sustainable here. So the last 8 years, I've been really trying to gear my mindset into the balance of like, okay, this is my life. I love this about me living in the city. I love and have all this expensive equipment that, raises my electric bill up through the roof. And I love, being, where there's a lot of attention and there's a lot of things going on, but then I don't. I have a personality where I could kind of get in where I fit in. But I feel like and again, I'm by myself doing it. I don't have any siblings. I don't, have anybody that is like helping me on my mission. So it's just me and the few family members I have that are why I'm really anchored here. And it's not easy. Like I'm constantly on the phone with Stacks, like, trying to almost, project myself in as if like, no, I have my ideal escape plan of growing my own fruits and vegetables and cultivating my own animals and being able to be self-sustained, which has always been in the back of my mind, but actually to make the transition and get out of that comfort zone, it is a challenge until you have to stop thinking about it. You just have to do it. Stop thinking, okay, yeah, you know what, this time, 6 months from now or a year from now, you just got to fucking do it.
Yeah.
You just got to make the move. And it's not easy, and it's a little scary for people who have never even had those experiences. It's like getting on a rocket ship and going to like Mars. It's like that kind of drastic of a change. It's not easy, and I'm working on it every day, and I'm looking forward to it, and I'm more positive than negative. Think of the more positives. Try not to dwell on the negatives, because there's always going to be a negative. That you're not going to have the conveniences you have. You're not going to have the easily accessible stores. I could walk a block to the gas station by my house at any hour of the night and get, a bag of potato chips to go be a fucking couch potato and watch a TV show at whatever time. Those kind of, it's a whole mind shift. And for people who've never experienced it or never thought to, and then one day wake up thinking like, okay, this is what I need to do, it's going to be a lot harder. I wish I had more advice on how to do it. Community. Surround yourself with people who have the same mindset, maybe who have a leg, a step further than you and have already begun that mission, and just share, pool knowledge, figure out where they fucked up and where you could maybe not make that mistake, and look for motivation, and then kind of prepare yourself. Be one of those people who's not like, I'd rather hear an uncomfortable truth than a comfortable lie. So, it's not going to be all easy. It's, you just buy a plot of land, throw some animals on it, put up a fence, and, things will take care of itself. Oh, fucking no way. That's not how it's going to go down. So it's really mindset. You got to get your mindset, and having people around you to share it with who are similar minded, I think, is a big key. That's the best piece of advice I could give you in that sense.
That makes sense.
So I'm just going to add something. The question that you posed it's an important one in the way that it gives some context, because I realized after you said it that there's definitely people that are asking themselves that question.
For sure.
So let me just, I'm going to start by saying this, that the man that you see before you today did not exist in the past. There was a version of me that was a frightening human being. And I don't say that lightly, and I say it with zero pride, and it makes me sad today to know that was true. I grew up in the streets, and I grew up rough, and I did a lot of crazy shit, hurt a lot of people, did a lot of stuff that I wasn't supposed to do. When I say grow up in the streets, whatever you're imagining, yes, and more. So with that came consequences for things. And at one point, it was sort of like, this continues forever, or, until my death, or I change. And I wanted some version of what I'm doing now for a long time. But I'm telling you that it's hard for me to put this into words, because it's not something you really can. But I have an attorney friend of mine that Drew knows, and he looked over some of my past, and he's like, you should write a book. He was like, you need to write your life story down, because it's far from normal and people will find it interesting. And that's because of how crazy it all was. I shouldn't be alive. The point is of me starting saying that is because somebody somewhere has some version of that wants to try to do something similar to what I'm explaining. And regardless of where I was and where they are, the line is the same. You have to just do it. You have to just go, that's it. I've had enough. And just do it. Because the person that you see today, I can barely recognize the old me and the old way of thinking. And with that comes so much shit. Like, it's so crazy that, like, I should not be in this position. I can't stress that point enough. I should not be here. I don't deserve this for all the things that I have done in the past. But I work my ass off to prove that I should be here every single day. that I go out into the world. I try to do the best that I can fucking do every day within wherever I'm at, whatever I'm doing. And there is sometimes that battle where somebody gets lippy and the old me's knocking them the fuck out. But I don't do that. I don't do that. I won't do that unless there's no other choice. But I mean, that little bit, that reflection the whole way through. And I can tell you that there's people that would have known the old me and would talk to me today and not recognize who I am. So whether you're that version where it's so messed up that you have to change, or you're the comfortable person that just realizes there needs to be a change, the process is the same. Just do it. Just do it. It's not going to be easy. It's not going to be comfortable. It's going to be unpredictable. But like, it's a mindset. I'm doing this. I'm doing this, and I'm going to do it to the best of my ability. That's what I would say for everybody, because that more or less what the question was is, what do you do? Well, what do you want to do? What's your focus? Get a game plan, get uncomfortable, and go do it. Because being comfortable might be short-lived anyway, from the way I see things. Like, I don't think that option's still going to stay there in the near future. If they continue doing this shit that they're doing, that overseas stuff where we hear about it on the news is most likely not going to just stay overseas. And that affects everything. So my point of saying that is because the quicker you start doing it, the easier it gets. And I'm telling you, I wouldn't trade it for the world. I hate going to the city. I hate those places. I can't stand all the people, all the cars, all the smog, all the garbage. It's just madness to me that like that's how I used to live. Just happy to be here. Here's the concrete city that smells like shit. And you're just like, yeah, this is great. No. And there's nothing that I can't, like, I find the most connection to God when I'm on my land working. Like, I'm supposed to be here and I'm supposed to be doing this. That's what I would say. Get uncomfortable, go do it.
Yeah. And prepare to be discouraged. And when you get discouraged, say, fuck that, I'm going to keep going. Don't let it discourage you, because it's going to happen.
Hell yeah.
That is absolutely a certainty.
That is such a massive, like, that's a massive thing that I don't know whether to call them normies or just cunts, but people out there will look at you. That's irresponsible. You shouldn't do. What are people going to say? What are they going to do? That's such a big, such big pushback from the system. Yeah.
Their opinion doesn't matter.
Yeah.
That's
No. Absolutely.
To me, I had an aunt come, like, when I bought my land, and was like, "Why are you doing that? Why don't you just save your money?" I could explain it to you, but you're not going to understand. Like, this isn't the 70s. Like you putting your money in the bank and then them writing checks for trillions of dollars, which loses value for the money that you're trying to save. It's like, that's great. You got $1 million saved up. How much is a loaf of bread by the time you retire? Does $1 million even go that far? No. But what you can do is buy a place that, they're not making any more land. So, if you buy a place at a reasonable price and you can produce things on that land, that's going to be more valuable than any money in the bank. I did catch that pushback whenever I first bought my land. People couldn't understand. Why are you moving out of the city? Why are you buying that land? That's stupid. Save your money.
Yeah.
I heard it all.
I believe that, and it still boggles the mind as to how people can say that with their. I think that's just more. I don't know. It just makes it so obvious and plain how lost and confused some of these people still are.
Yeah. It's something that Drew hit on, is like, it's either take a comfortable lie or an uncomfortable truth. I think a lot of people, like, you've got to, they've got to be exposed to the uncomfortable truth, because, you mentioned that, like, you think a lot of the comforts are going away. I don't think they're going away. I think they're just going to cost, they're going to cost something. And, like, not something necessarily like material, but it's going to cost, like, something, like, in whatever, like, system that they bring out after this. It's going to cost something of yourself, cost something of your, like, giving your identity over, your spirituality over to it, to obtain, like, what you have now.
No.
And I think exposing people to that, to, like, hey, like, they own everything that you have right now. you don't own it; they own it, right? The people who have perpetuated the system owns that, and it's like they're going to make you pay a price for it to keep it,
Yeah.
and like really drill that down into people's heads. I think is kind of where you kind of have to start, because so many people, and like I've just started to kind of become aware of that reality, especially like how deep that reality goes. It's not owned by men, um, so many people have to come aware of that to even do anything.
Yeah, no,
Take the
it's very
first step.
true. Yeah,
Yeah.
Yep.
so true. That was one of the things I became weirdly aware of in like elementary school, because I came from this like pseudo retard hippie family that like they bought all their food organic, was on like macrobiotic. We were making fruit leather in a dehydrator and canning all summer, and I would take a lunch bag to school, and kids would be like, "What the fuck is wrong with you? Why are you eating slop for lunch?"
Yeah.
I was like, "Oh, this is just what life is." Like I was lucky enough to get used to that at 6, and it's so much harder to get used to that at 35, or however old people are trying to go from one side of that coin to the other. So much harder when you're older.
Yeah, yeah. Think about all the 25 and unders who will lose their mind if they can't post a selfie on social media for a day.
Yes.
You
Oh
know,
my gosh, yes.
my friends group, I'm in my mid 40s, and my friends group, my New Yorker friends group, they're even coming to the realization when I talk to them about it, like, oh yeah, getting a house or property in Florida or Pennsylvania or Texas or fucking Utah or anywhere other than the city is now an appealing thing. They have no clue on if they were going to buy land, build something to do it themselves. They think it's just they're going to buy a big house, which they can, move into it, and it's just going to be a cheaper way of life, and they're going to have more privacy and more peace. But I just say that because I see the mentality of people from my generation kind of starting to shift, because everybody's tired of the bullshit going on here, especially in this city. But the younger generation, under 30, they want to come into the city. From wherever they are in the country, they want to come to the city. They're not thinking about paying $6,000 a month for rent in a shitty one-bedroom condo, or all these laws. You can't have a cat, you can't have a dog, you can't carry a gun, you can't own a gun, you can't buy the type of food you want, you can't buy fuel where you want, you can't defend yourself. All these things, they don't care about any of that. And it's just like, all right, you know what? You could have it. And, when the power goes out and you can't take a selfie or, post on Facebook, good luck. I'll be out, in God's country, hopefully, ideally. And, I don't need, hopefully I won't need a cell phone signal. That's the mentality I see. There's a little bit of a shift happening from just people I know. And it's just sad how there's open-minded people who you could have a conversation with, and people who are completely just want to buy into the whole system. And it's, let them have it. I'll trade places with you. Go for it. I'll move to,
Yeah. The
Nebraska.
system is for those people. That's where that bifurcation or a parallel economy or things of that nature, they're going to become more prevalent. I often say the beast system is the parallel reality to God's creation, because we've become so engrossed in it that you don't even see the other part anymore. But you can also recreate that parallel to the beast system. And for the people that want the system, for the people that want the comfort, for the people that don't mind being controlled, that's for them. You can't save everybody. Some people don't want to be saved. But if you don't want that, there is another path. And that's all that I'm ever trying to explain, is that realize where you're at, and that there are choices to be made. There's a fork in the road. Almost every decision is a fork in the road. So, it's up to you, bud. Like, you can do whatever you want, obviously, but like, realize that there's a lot of work one way and there's a lot of order taking the other. So, I mean, you just got to try and figure out what path you want to walk. For me, there's something special about being able to walk around your own property and do whatever you want. That's something I never experienced until I bought it. It's just one of those things where it's hard to explain, but like you walk around your own property with stuff you built with your own hands, and you take into account where you are. I often keep my head down and just keep working, and every once in a while I'll pop it up and look behind me, and I'm like, God damn, we went far, and then right back to work. So that's all that it is. If you can have it, or you can not have it. It's just your choice, but just realize that there is a choice because some people don't know that there is. Um, but I mean, we've been going for this. We're coming up on an hour and a half, and I think this went great. Um,
Yeah, man.
you guys want to add anything? You want to touch on anything?
Yeah, you mentioned, the beast system parallel to God's system. You're gonna highlight of like how it's gonna be sold to you, man. Uh, they're gonna sell it to you as Eden. God's system is Eden. Is what was in the garden. That's what God's system is. It's the story of the Bible about Him redeeming humanity back to Eden. And the deception is that the people who are perpetuating this, or they're going to sell you that, and they're going to try to make it look as close to that as freaking possible. But it's not going to be that. And like that's where I try to hark on people. It's like, hey, you have to recognize the nature of reality, the nature of kind of the spiritual war that you're in, because they're going to try to to keep what they've given you. Like they're gonna make you give something up to keep being a part of it, and it's gonna look pretty. It's gonna look really really close to what it's supposed to be, but it's not gonna be that. If that makes sense.
Yeah, it makes
I think
sense.
you got there in the end.
Yeah, I ramble sometimes, but
It made sense.
Yeah. Well, I mean, hopefully somebody listening got something out of that. If you're on the fence and you're listening to this, just go do it. Go do it. If you're waiting for a sign, this is your sign. Go do it.
Yeah.
Go get started. Whatever that process is for you, go do it. All right. Okay. Yeah. Like I said, I think this went great. I don't want to keep you guys too long. I think we should definitely do something like this again, though. If you're open to it.
yeah.
Would
Awesome.
love to. We'll have to have you guys on sometime because this has been a blast. This is really thank you for having us. It's
Yeah.
been tons of
No
fun.
problem. Whenever you want, you let me know when you want us to come on, and we will be there as long as I'm not working. But evening shows, I'm in.
Yeah.
One more time, tell everybody where they can find you guys.
Yeah, we're at the Veritas Road on all the social media except for fucking Twitter. We're the Veritas Road Pod. We're live every Tuesday at 7 p.m. for Touch Me Tuesdays, where we talk about the things that touch me that week, and hopefully we can touch you too. It's my favorite tagline from our show. And go check out the Patreon. It's Patreon /Veritas Road or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's us.
Yeah, I watch your guys' show when I can. As I told you, I'm very busy, but it is a good show. Everyone should go subscribe, listen, tell them that I sent you. And Drew, you want to add anything, say anything, or say goodbye?
Yeah, I'll just say goodbye. It was great having you guys on. I had a blast. Great flow, and I look forward to doing it again. And I appreciate everybody in the comments, everybody who's watching. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, I think Not Nice Guy is going live if he's not already live. So if I was any good at this, I would send you to him in a raid, but I don't know what I'm doing. So that's why this is the shit show. All right. You guys have a good night. Appreciate you guys coming on. Appreciate everybody watching.